last several job withdrawal programs, I gave an update on the budget, starting back in September, where I said that we were looking at preliminary budget estimates, and it was appearing that based on preliminary estimates, the revenues that we were going to be receiving this year was not going to be enough to cover the expenses that we were planning for. Big cost drivers that we were aware of back then was health insurance, which actually went up 23%, which is an astounding increase to have to take on, and pension assessment, which went up 4 to 5 to 6% each of the last 3 or 4 years, which has really been a cost driver that has limited what we can do with other things. So cost drivers like health insurance and pension have taken the resources that we have for the budget every year and taken more of it away from core functions to have to pay for those big ticket items. Additionally, our school system, the regional school district, Acton-Boxborough School District, they work with us to work on their budget every year and their revenues every year. But we also have the Minuteman School District, which is we're one of 8 or 9 towns that go to the new Minuteman High School, which is on the Lexington and Harvard line. It's a beautiful new school. The students that go there get a full college prep education, and they also get access to the latest technology and other trade type education. But because of this new school, our costs to Minuteman have increased double digits since the building was built. And so the first year, it was sticker shock. Wow, okay, it's a number that's not huge, so if it goes up 15%, it's unfortunate. It was a spike, but then it went up 20%, and then 30%, and then even now, I think it's down 10 or 15%. It really adds up. Every year, as you know, if you're familiar with Prop 2.5, Prop 2.5 basically says that a town is limited in what it could collect in revenue from property taxes by 2.5% plus new growth. So we figure that's around 3% every year. So if we have 3% available revenue every year to run the town and the school districts, the both of them, and we're getting increases in one of the districts of double digits, and then we're getting increases in fixed costs and large cost drivers like health insurance and pension, it just squeezes what we have available. So that was September. October, November, we kept working on the budget. And then this winter, it was determined that there was a need to go for an operational override, that the costs that we were considering were not going to be able to be met with the existing revenue structure. So the select board voted to put a override question on the ballot. And that was part of a process that we engaged in with the Acton Leadership Group. The Acton Leadership Group is school committee, Acton-Boxborough Regional School Committee, Finance Committee, Select Board, and then administration folks like me. And we met every month to talk about different ways we could approach this. And in the end, that's what we came to, was that we needed to do an operational override to be able to deliver services next year to meet the expectations of the community. So the override amount is $6.6 million. It'll be on the ballot. So if you vote on April 30th at the junior high, there'll be a question at the bottom that says, do you support approving $6.6 million in additional tax revenue for town and school operations? And if people say yes, if a majority of people say yes, then the override will pass. If a majority of people say no, then the override will not pass. And at the following week at town meeting, we'll have to bring a budget forward depending on the results of that election. So if at the election people say yes, the A budget, which we're referring to as the budget that supports an override or that accounts for an override, would be brought to town meeting. If the ballot measure, that people say no, we'll go to town meeting with a B budget. And there's been a lot of presentations over the last several months about what the differences are between the A and the B budgets. Hopefully you've been able to see some of those or look at the information that we have online. But generally, the A budget would give us next year level services. We still refine things. We made progress with our health insurance costs by going to a new provider. Please, there's additional seats over here if you'd like to sit down. Right over here next to Beth. Have a seat. Thank you for coming. So we changed our health insurance plans, which resulted in savings for us next year and going forward. We've also, fortunately, our debt situation has improved. We had our AAA bond rating reaffirmed this winter, which is a big accomplishment. There are only about a dozen communities in the state that have a AAA bond rating, and we're one of them. And when we met with the rating agencies, they sat down with us and looked at all of our financials and said, yep, good, everything looks right. That's what we like. Okay, good, no problem, reaffirmed. We're going to tell the investor world that you're running things at a AAA rated fiscal accountability. So that was good news, and it got us really competitive rates for our interest. So when we borrowed recently, we got a rate of 2.72, which, when was the last time you heard a number that low, right? So that's the benefit of the fiscal work that we do, and having the bond rating helped us with that. So those changes are in the A budget. Both the town and the school reduced things to meet the requests of the boards, the select board, the finance committee, the school committee. And so the A budget actually doesn't use the full 6.6 million. And that's a little bit confusing for people, and I'm here to help try to explain it, and I'll be here all morning if you have questions about it. But basically, what we're saying is we're asking for authorization for $6.6 million in new tax revenue. But the budgets that we're bringing, if that's approved, only use 5.4 million of that. That's confusing, right? I'm sorry, but that's the way that it's been laid out. And what that does is it allows us to keep that $1.2 million and not tax it until we need to. And what we're saying this year is we're not going to tax it this year. So even though we're asking you to vote on 6.6 million, the actual impact next year will be 5.4 million. And then in future years, the town, the leadership group, the select board, et cetera, will decide whether or not to use some of that additional tax levy. But at this point, the plan is to not use that next year. So other things about the B budget, we would reduce we reduce the services in every department in terms of the expense accounts. We would really knock those to bare minimum, which they're just above bare minimum right now. And so things that we do to react to constituent concerns, like if there's an issue with the sidewalk, we can hire someone to do an engineering study to see if we can figure out how to add things. Funding like that will not be there in the B budget. Staffing will be reduced in the B budget. We have been trying to add staffing. We have a new employee I wanted to mention, not a new employee, an experienced employee. Our fire chief, Anita Arnhem, is here. Under her leadership, we're working to build the fire department back up. We've had some staffing changes, and she's doing a great job. One of the things that we're doing is adding an impact shift to help supplement our medical response during the day. The B budget would take a step back from that, and it would eliminate one of those impact positions, which would be a step back in those services. Other things in the B budget for the town side would be we reduce staffing hours at the libraries. There'd be less funding for things like election workers and things like that that all help the town work successfully. We'll be dialing back on those things. Part-time positions will be eliminated, and but I think there's a lot of things in the B budget for the school that they've been presenting that have real impacts on the educational offerings that they have, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at some of that on the website that they have and other information that they're putting forward. So that's the general difference between the A and the B budget. We'd also do less capital investment. We're planning to redo the Prospect Street intersection, which you may have driven through to get here. We're planning to redo that next year and do some other great road work and some other safety improvements for sidewalks. That will be taken out of the budget in the B budget scenario. So some definite changes and impacts to services that hopefully you're able to learn more about.